Shakur Stevenson sparred with Showtime Shawn Porter as he prepares for February 22nd, a fight with Floyd Schofield. In this video, I'm going to break down the information. Now, Shakur Stevenson hard at work in camp, training for his upcoming fight. I'm looking forward to it. Undefeated versus undefeated. Shakur has more experience, but he's fighting against Floyd Schofield. Schofield's definitely sound confident and possess interesting attributes, if you will, that would be fun to match against Shakur Stevenson. Shakur got a great defense and uses his size and ring IQ to dodge shots, counters you, and fighting a shorter, smaller, compact guy like Floyd Schofield, who's explosive with some power and some pop. Now we find out Shakur has gotten the style, a welterweight at that kind of closely mirrors Floyd Schofield. And I find that funny because I know I was one of the first people to make that correlation on Shawn Porter and Floyd Schofield. I said early on that if you look at Shawn Porter in his prime and you look at Floyd Schofield, there's a bit of similarities to the nuance. Build kind of similar. They're both like shorter for their divisions, but brolic, and in good shape. And they have this like roughhouse, aggressive boxer puncher, controlled, wild aggression style. And now we find out that Shakur somehow connected with Shawn Porter. Now, I don't know the nature of how this came about. Shakur, if he called Shawn Porter or if Shawn Porter was interviewing him and they decided to, Shawn Porter had his gear or something, they decided to get some rounds in. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it was set up, but nonetheless, this is very good work for Shakur Stevenson. And he says he got good rounds in with Shawn Porter. This is a guy who fights at a bigger weight class. I don't know what his walk around weight is in his off season, but I would imagine it's more than his campaign weight at 147, as most fighters are cutting weight in this day and age. I don't know the extent of how often Shawn Porter trains. He looks, to the eye test, he looks like he's in similar shape to his off seasons when he wasn't a retired fighter, but I don't know. I don't know exactly how frequently he trains, if he just pops out randomly or if he spars all the time. Either way, I don't see this as being a bad thing for Shakur Stevenson, especially when you look at, as I mentioned earlier, Schofield fights kind of similar, and people, including myself, have found Shawn Porter's style as kind of the guy that Schofield reminds him of. So maybe Shakur just wanted that look, because in sparring, that's kind of what you should be doing. You should be trying to find a style that closely matches as best as you can to what you're going to be up against. Like if you're fighting Manny Pacquiao and someone who's quick on their feet, you would want to find a southpaw, or at least some southpaw work with quick feet and maybe some power, right? Because you want to have them emulate or mimic what your opponent can do in the ring. So under the bright lights, you can say, I pulled out all the stops, I've left no stone unturned, and we're ready for this opponent. That being said, I just gave Shakur props. I don't have any problem with this as your preparation. It makes sense if you think about it to get some. Shawn Porter's a former multiple-time world champion, again in a higher weight class. He's been in there with the best, Terrence Crawford. He's been in there with Errol Spence, Kell Brook. He's been in there with Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia. Resume is bonkers. Been in there with Adrian Broner. Oh man, AB, about billions, algebra books. So he fought everybody. Everybody in this generation that was pretty much worthy, he fought them. So that's a wealth of experience. I've had the pleasure of watching Shawn Porter train multiple times. And again, I can't really speak for his retired life, but I know when he was an active fighter, he would train in like altitude and all kinds of. I've been on the UNLV track with Shawn Porter. He's really, conditioned and things like that. So that being said, I just gave Shakur props for sparring with the bigger veteran and stuff in preparation. However, I will say this: Shakur has done interviews where he's kind of belittled the Schofields and said, I'm gonna step on them, I'm gonna destroy them, they're not on my level, these guys are nobodies, he a little kid to me, this type of jazz. And I do find it a bit funny if you really believe that Schofield is no threat and he's a prospect and he's a kid to you. It appears that you're literally having one of your most complete training camps that we've heard of and that we've known about, right? You got Terrence Crawford in camp checking on you, Floyd, Muddy. Like I said before, Jake Paul, I seen there's a flyer. It said Jake Paul might fight his brother, Logan Paul. I fought Logan. He was a young, hungry lion, but at the end of the day, God only made one thing perfect. That's my record. Hard work, dedication, easy work. You got Floyd checking on you. You got Bud checking on you. You got Keyshawn preparing for a fight, tapping in with you. Shawn Porter, out of retirement, sparring with you. I'm sure Andre Ward tapped in with him in between filming his show. Make sure you check out All the Smoke, Art of Ward. You know what I mean? So that's that. I'm not mad at it. It makes sense. You're supposed to have a great training camp for your big fights. But I'm just saying, Shakur's talk oftentimes doesn't match the actions of what we're seeing. You made it sound like this is going to be one of your easiest fights, and maybe it is on February 22nd. We have to wait and see. But it does appear that, maybe the card that you're on, you're for whatever reason, I'm not Shakur, so I don't know. Whatever reason it is, you truly seem like you're making sure you cross your T's and dot your I's with this particular training camp. I mean, can you think of another training camp where we've seen Floyd checking in with him, Bud was checking in with them, Shawn Porter was sparring him, probably Andre Ward. It's just a lot. You have a lot of star power and like the boxing Avengers kind of helping you out. Meanwhile, Schofield, I mean, we haven't really seen that much from him. I don't know who's sparring with him. I haven't seen like these big A-listers. So Shakur, definitely the pressure is high because you can't have all these people helping you win, through their tutelage, their advice, their experience. It would be foolish to think that Terrence Crawford and Floyd aren't giving him pointers, Shawn Porter, stuff like that. So you got a lot of help and you're the bigger name and you're the guy who's rated higher with more fights. So I do think there's a lot of pressure on Shakur Stevenson. He did have a mouse under his eye, and it's just going to be a lot of pressure because the world is not fully familiar with the Schofield brand, and he is considered a prospect. This is not William Zepeda, who you were initially supposed to fight. Let me know what you guys think. I love it. Shawn Porter sparring with Shakur Stevenson. Subscribe to my channel for more boxing on the daily.